Can you swim across the map in Sea of Thieves? I was wondering this the other day, so I looked it up, and from what I could find, I don't think anyone's done it. Now, I'm not talking about swimming to an island, getting food, and then swimming to the next closest one, getting more food, and doing it like that. I mean swimming from one side to the other side without touching any boats or any land or any rowboats and getting no help from anyone. Straight away, you probably think, well, it's not possible because of sharks and sirens. But I'm not sure. Can you fight them off? Is there a way to make them not spawn? Can you bring enough food with you to make it doable, even with them? So I started by doing some research on sharks and sirens, and I found out that apparently they spawn less in calm water, like around the islands. So maybe I can plan a route that takes me through those calm waters and reduce the amount of spawns I get. If I do get some spawns, fight them off and have food with me to be able to eat. And maybe it is possible. The only way to find out is to test it. If I did have someone help me, I could have them just follow me around and drop fruit into the ocean. I'd never have to touch land and I could do it. But I'm doing it with no help, with no islands, just trying to swim completely solo across the ocean. So I got my route marked out on the map, starting just off the map at A1 and swimming all the way down to Z26. So I began sailing up to A1 to start the first test swim. Alright, I've sailed myself to the northwest corner of the map. I'm here, I've made sure I'm off the map, so when I jump off the front, I'm definitely starting off the map, and then I'm attempting to swim southeast all the way to the southeast corner at the bottom. Just here, I have no clue how I'll gauge it when I get there. I'm not planning to get there on this first try, I'm just seeing how far I can get, sort of a test one. So I've brought with me cooked food, I've got maximum cooked food on me. The only thing better than this, I guess, is Kraken or Meg. But just for this test one, I mean, I'll be able to see if it's possible or not. I then have a sword and a sniper, and I feel like that's probably the best for fighting off sharks. I would go 2 guns, but I'm going to run out of ammo, so I kind of need to have a sword. I don't know how useful a sword is for sharks, but I don't really have a choice. And then I've also got blunderbombs for my sort of last resort. So I mean, I just have to attempt this and see what I get on the first try. The first island I'm going to be passing is Sailor's Bounty, and then I'll be very close to Sandy Shallows afterwards. Jumped off the front of my boat, took one last look at it, and then began my swim southeasterly down to the bottom of the map. Alright, first swim. Alright, okay, I've got sharks. Just one. I decided to use my gun for this first guy because, I mean, why not? I don't have anything else to use it on. And it used 3 bullets, so I'm only killing 1 shark with the gun. I got to use my sword for the rest. I don't want to jinx anything, but there's been no sharks spawning for a little while now. Right after I said that, another shark spawned, and this time I had to use my sword, but it worked out just fine, able to kill it. Just kind of circled me and let me chop it up. And as I swam into the night, just more spawned, and I repeated that process. I'm starting to wonder if maybe there's a limit to the amount of sharks that can spawn on you. Like maybe you get 3 spawns and then that's it, because I haven't had one in a while again. And I mean, I had 3, maybe it's just 3 and then free to swim for as long as you want. After that, another shark spawned on me, and it seemed that they were only spawning in packs of 1 at the moment. Pretty sure it's just because there was 1 person in the water, you sort of get less sharks spawning, but I wasn't complaining. I then swam past Sailor's Bounty, which was the first island, so I kind of knew where I was. I then made it to Sandy Shallows, the second island on my path, and despite being in the calm water, I was still attacked by a shark, so the idea that this is kind of a safer area is just not true. They still attack me here. Eventually I made it to Sanctuary Outpost, and this is where I was out of food. I still had overheal, so I could fight 1 shark, or 2, but not if they spawned together, and unfortunately 2 spawned together, so I was done for. So I made it to, I reckon, about here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. So the first thing that I wanted to do after that swim was go back and analyze it and analyze the footage and work out how long it would take me to cross the ocean if I could. So knowing that I went 6 squares out of a total of 26 squares, that was about 23%. It took me about 25 minutes, so I estimated that it's probably going to take me about 100 or 122 hours to do the whole ocean. This is very underestimated, and I'd work that out later, but I thought it'd probably take me about 2 hours to cross the ocean. From this practice swim, I can also tell it's definitely possible if I was getting on islands and getting food, but again, I don't want to be doing that. So now my next goal was just work out how to get further than 6 squares. I immediately knew that I wanted to have full overheal, obviously, before getting in the water, which I didn't do last time. And this would let me fight 4 sharks before I had to eat anything, so I could immediately get a lot further just by having overheal when getting in the water. I was thinking of how I could get more food in the ocean. I know I can fish, but I can't cook it or anything, so it's probably not worth it. Then I remembered barrels and shipwrecks. So possibly I'll be able to find barrels or shipwrecks along the way. I didn't see any on that first swim, but on this next one I'm going to be looking out for them, and maybe I'll find food just floating around in the ocean. Another thing I found out that would turn out to be really useful is that you can actually dodge the shark attacks if you swim down right as they come to bite you. The issue with this is that the sharks spawn behind me, so I'd have to hear when one spawned and then turn around and dodge it very quickly. But even just dodging a few sharks every now and again would get me a lot further. So knowing this stuff, I kind of made a new plan and went for my second swim. I made sure I had full overheal before I went in the water, along with the 5 cooked food I have in my inventory. I was aiming to just get further than 6 squares, and also I was going to be on the lookout for barrels and shipwrecks. After cooking up all my food, I optimistically set off for my second swim. This swim involved the usual sharks, and the overheal was working. I immediately knew that I was going to be able to get a lot further, because I didn't have to eat for a while. I also had my first encounter with sirens. They weren't too tricky, to be honest. It was kind of just like fighting 2 sharks. It does do more damage than a usual shark, so I don't really want them. But this turned out to be the only time I'd ever see these guys, so they didn't cause much of an issue. Now this part was a little bit peculiar. I sense that there's 2 sharks behind me, so I turn around, and I know that I'm going to have to eat because there's 2. I get hit by one, eat, my health doesn't go up, and the next one kills me. Putting that back in a slow motion replay, I eat the food and wait for ages before pulling out my sword. I definitely had enough time to eat it, but my health just didn't go up, so I don't know, if maybe this was some sort of food reg, or maybe I did just pull out my sword too fast, but this ended the swim pretty early. Only making it to just before Sandy Shallows, so not far at all. Now this swim, I was kind of just expecting it to be like a rerun of the second one, sort of just testing out some new stuff, but it actually turned out to be a very nice swim. Right after killing the first shark, I resurfaced and I was blessed with finding some bergs. After swimming over to these, they turned out to be barrels, and I was happy, but I mean, this is kind of the worst time to find barrels. I'd only taken 1 hit and I hadn't even eaten anything yet. So I was able to refill my overheal, but I would have preferred to find these about halfway through the swim rather than right at the start. The second shark that I came across, I was actually able to dodge, so I took no damage of this guy, and this is where I started thinking maybe it is possible. I found barrels, I've dodged sharks, maybe I actually can swim to the other side of the map. I continued swimming and continued dodging sharks. Some of the dodges were maybe a little bit lucky, but they worked. Until I made it to Sandy Shallows with only a quarter of my overheal used up. I knew at the time, at this rate I was going to make it to the other side if I could just keep this up, so I was pretty happy. I took extra care to ensure I didn't stand up in any shallow water when I was crossing close to these islands. Before I knew it, I was at Sanctuary Outpost, and I hadn't even eaten anything yet. This is where I got on the first swim, and I still had all 5 of my food. I'd also turned up the volume at this point, so I could hear pretty much every shark that spawned, and at least attempt to dodge it, and I was getting pretty good at it. The next island I passed by was Lonely Isle. I swam just to the right of it, and just to show you on the map, this is where I was at the time. Not too far through, but I was feeling pretty good because I still had all my food. While I was swimming past one of the uncharted islands, I spotted more birds in the distance, which was at a much better time than the first one, seeing as I'd actually eaten something at this point. Before I could even swim over there, I sensed 2 sharks behind me, which actually scared me quite a bit, but I was able to deal with them pretty easily. As I swam closer, I realized it was a shipwreck, which I was even happier with, knowing these can have Kraken or Meg in them. I swam down into it, and it turned out that there was actually Kraken. I was very happy with this. I was able to refill my overheal and keep this Kraken on me. The increased shark spawns actually almost killed me here. I got bit by one, the other one swam towards me, for some reason didn't bite me. I got lucky and I was able to get off just fine, but at the time I thought I was done for, and I thought I'd just wasted all that luck of finding a shipwreck and barrels. While I was swimming past the fort of the dam, 2 sharks spawned, and this is what gets me close to death every time. You have to eat here. Ended up having to eat a whole piece of meat to survive these guys. Luckily it's kind of rare for 2 to spawn, but when they do, they really use up a lot of your resources. Once I killed them, I was able to just pass the fort of the dam nice and easily, and this pretty much for me marked the home stretch. I then saw Barnacle Cay, and at this point I was almost done. I felt like I was almost done. Going back to the map, I'm here at Barnacle Cay with just Ancient Spire and the Devil's Roar left. I had made it to this point with still 4 food left, and I pretty much knew I was going to make it. As long as I didn't do anything stupid, I just had to keep doing what I was doing and I would make it. Despite at this point working out that with 4 food I thought I was going to make it, I had to still be listening to sharks because it was 4 food, but I had to still dodge the majority of sharks that were coming towards me. Once I swam past Ancient Spire, I began the long swim to the Devil's Roar. Now, at this point, I can see the roaring traders here. So if I go back to the map, I can estimate that my position is somewhere around here. Now, unfortunately, something bad happened. This was absolutely devastating, easily top 10 most devastating things ever. The fact that I died to that shark is insanely unlucky, and I'll replay it to show you. So I hear that there's a shark behind me, I turn around and it's just a single shark, so I think great, I've done this 50 or 100 times just on this swim. I swim towards it and I see that it's not in attack mode. This happens all the time. I've caught it before it's coming to attack me, so I can just swim up to it, kill it with my sword like I've done before. Now unfortunately here it enters attack mode. There's nothing I can do to dodge this, I'm going to have to get bit. But again, this has happened to me heaps of times on this swim. It's not an issue, I can get bit once and then just kill it afterwards. In all the other instances when I've fought a shark like this, it's normally about 10 or 20 seconds before it attacks me again, which is plenty of time to either kill it or I'll overheal and be able to take another bite. For some reason this guy just decides to attack me again straight away. I know that it looks like I should have just eaten, but I had never done that before, and if I had been doing that, I wouldn't have had the food to get to this point. I was trying to conserve my food. It just seems like I got insanely unlucky at the worst time. To get to where I did, it took me 2 hours and 40 minutes, so to cross the map, I'm assuming it's going to take about 3 hours, maybe just a little bit more than 3 hours. I'd love to say that after that, I went back and did the 4th swim and made it, but after coming that close and dying, I just can't do another one. It also uses so much of your brain the whole swim. It looks like you can just hold the W key, but every minute to 2 minutes, you have to hear a shark spawning behind you. So you can't watch YouTube at the same time, you can't do anything. You have to be sitting there looking for birds and waiting for a shark to spawn and then quickly turning around and dodging it. Although to answer my question, can you swim across the map in Sea of Thieves? 100% yes. You're going to need to be able to dodge the sharks and also probably get a few lucky spawns with shipwrecks. If you can get a nice spawn that's about halfway through the swim once you've already used most of your food, that'd be a perfect spot for barrels or shipwrecks. After that first swim, I was pretty sure it wasn't possible, but now 100% you can swim across the whole map. To the 3 people that are still watching this, if you did want to try this, I'm pretty sure you would be the first person to do it. Make sure you record it, but yeah, you could probably be the first person to swim across the map. And if you would consider subscribing, I'd be very grateful. Otherwise, have a great day.